Hey everyone, so this video we're going to talk about what it means for something to be a cube. And so we've talked about what it means to square something, and now we're going to look at what does it mean to cube something. So I'm going to make a little table. That is kind of the easiest way for you to be able to see it. I'm going to just pick a couple of numbers. Okay. And so if my number was 1, well, what would my number squared be? So what is 1 squared? Well, 1 squared is 1. 2 squared is 4. 3 squared is 9. 4 squared is 16. 5 squared is 25. 6 squared is 36. And 7 squared is 49. When you're cubing something, you're not multiplying it by itself twice, right? So if this was x, this would be x times x. Now you're doing it 3 times. So it would be your number times itself 3 times. And so 1 times 1 times 1 is still 1. Well, 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is going to give me 8. So 2 cubed is 8. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. So 3 cubed is 27. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 4 is 64. And so that means 4 cubed is 16, right? And so this is really 2 times 2 times 2. This is 3 times 3 times 3. This is 4 times 4 times 4. 5 cubed is 5 times 5, which is 25, times another 5, which is 125. And so this is really 5 times 5 times 5. 6 cubed is 6 times 6, which is 36, times another 6 is 216. And so that is 6 cubed, which is really 6 times 6 times 6. And lastly, 7 cubed is 7 times 7, which is 49, times another 7, which is going to be 343. So when you're cubing something, you're multiplying it by itself 3 times. And so now we're going to look at, well, what does that look like when we talk about variables? Okay, so I'm just going to write, okay, x squared, x to the third, x to the fourth, and we'll stop at x to the fifth because I think you'll get the gist by then. So what is x squared? Well, x squared is x squared, right? X to the third is just x to the third. Well, what if I have x squared? X squared would be x squared squared is really going to be, I'm just going to do it on the side, x squared times x squared, right? So that means I have 2 x's and then I have 2 more. Well, that's x to the fourth. So if I'm doing x squared cubed, which is x squared, if I'm cubing that, right, I'm really doing x squared times x squared times x squared, which means I have 2 more x's, and this is going to be x to the 6th. That means there are 6 x's. Okay, if I have x cubed and I square it, right, that means I have x cubed times x cubed, which is 3 x's here and 3 x's here. Well, that's 6 x's. Well, what happens when I cube x cubed? Meaning I have x cubed cubed. That means I have that means I have 3 more x's here. And so this is really x to the 9th. Okay, you don't really see much further than that. I am going to do one more. So if I have x fourth and I square it, well, that means I have x to the fourth times x to the fourth, which is 4 x's times 4 x's, which is 8 x's. So that's x to the 8th power. And then if I cube it instead of squaring it, I have 4 more x's, which really gives me, I have 4, 8, it should be x to the 12th. And so what you notice, and it's an exponent rule, is when you have an exponent raised to an exponent, you multiply. So 2 times 2, it gives you the 4. If I have x squared and I'm cubing it, well then 2 times 3 gives me 6. Right? If I have x cubed and I'm squaring it, well 3 times 2 gives me x to the 6 because 3 times 2 is 6. If I have x cubed, then I have 3 times 3, which is 9. Same thing here. X to the 4th and I'm cubing it. That means 4 times 3 is 12. But these are some of your perfect cubes, right? These are some of those cubes that you might see as you begin to do your worksheet.